The world of RuneScape is a vast and complex one. There are many places to explore and many challenges to face. As a new player, there would surely be too much content to learn before one could make a Let's Play, right? That's me, Anton9102. I'm a new player in RuneScape, and I intend to document my journey with the goal to max my player stats as well as conquer the lands that I find myself in. Follow me in my quest through these vast lands in my RuneScape Let's Play. The prologue left off with both my strength and attack being 40, so I balanced out my melee stats by hitting level 40 defense. After that, I was a bit lost. I didn't know what I should train or what I should work for, so I went to the wiki to check what I should work towards for all of the quests. Now, at least for the free-to-play quests, the wiki doesn't show many requirements, however I did see 2 that I could work towards. Level 33 magic to save me 10,000 coins in the Dragon Slayer quest, and level 37 prayer, giving me access to protect from magic, which should make the final boss fight much easier. Now I knew what to do, but not how I would do it. Thus, I consulted the wiki again and it recommended I train back at the Lumbridge Cows, and that is exactly what I did. The wiki then recommends going to the Hill Giants located in the Edgefield dungeon to train up to level 33. But here's where I make a slight mistake. The wiki implies that I should use the spell Wind Bolt, which costs around 73 GP per cast. Instead of this, I could use Fire Strike, which, with a Fire Staff, costs an average of 14 GP per cast, and I personally did not notice any difference in damage between the two. Wind Bolt was certainly not 5 times better. Due to this small blunder, I ended up using 29,500 GP that I didn't need to, but I was given the valuable lesson to research the methods I would be using to progress in RuneScape before I used them. Luckily, I discovered my mistake before buying more runes to train magic with, and I ended up getting the rest of the way to 33 with Fire Strike. I still needed level 37 prayer, so I first used all of the big bones in my bank, and then I went back to the Hill Giants in melee gear to get some more big bones. This method worked pretty well. I would get big bones, melee XP, and some decently valuable drops. When I ran out of food, I could walk to the nearby fishing spots where people would cook and drop large amounts of fish. But then, I got a special drop from one of the giants. I received a giant key. I looked through the wiki page for the key and it told me I could fight a boss giant, Ober. All of the recommended methods of taking down Ober required 60 defense, which was far off my current 40. However, one of the methods recommended by the wiki only required 50 magic and 40 prayer, so I went back to train magic with Fire Strike for a while. After around 2.5 hours, I received around 23,500 in profit from selling items. This would mean my hourly profit would be around 9,400 GP. If I included the bones I used to train prayer, it would add roughly 28,000 GP per hour. That only brings my GP per hour from Hill Giants up to 37,400. Due to Hill Giants bringing in such a small amount of money, I decided to try a different magic training method that would earn me a large amount of money, of which I could put a portion towards buying big bones to train my prayer. The method involves me going to the Chaos Temple and stealing the wine of Zamorak that spawns on the table with Telekinetic Crab. My hope was that I would get a comparable amount of magic experience and a significantly larger amount of money. However, I was disappointed by the results. I did end up getting a large amount of money, around 270,000 in 2.5 hours, but the magic experience I gained was nowhere near what I gained at Hill Giants. With stealing Wine of Zamorak, I was gaining less than 2,000 magic experience per hour, while my Hill Giants experience per hour was nearing 14,000. Another big downside to stealing Wine of Zamorak was that it just wasn't fun for me. I had to constantly hop worlds due to people coming to the world I was farming in and taking the wine, as well as the constant long trips I had to take to Falador to deposit the wine and the slow and arduous process of buying wizard mind bombs. I was just not having fun doing this, and I knew I wouldn't be able to sit through another session of that. So, I sold the 200 jugs of wine I had acquired and ended up getting a little sidetracked with money making. I looked through multiple different methods to try to find one that would earn me a reasonable amount of money and yet wouldn't require much attention from me. That way I could watch a video or do some other task while I earn GP, which will likely lead me to being able to do the task more often, and thus, more GP. On top of that, I wanted a method that would give me experience so I could level my skills at the same time. After a long period of researching, I finally had chosen a method that I think I would enjoy: crafting jewelry. This method would give me experience, would only be a few clicks per inventory, and there was definitely a decent amount of money to be earned, especially if I leveled up my crafting and crafted necklaces with gems. With this idea in mind, I headed to Edgeville, which contained a furnace and a nearby bank, and crafted 1,400 gold necklaces. After I finished crafting the gold necklaces, I had enough GP to buy materials for an hour worth of crafting sapphire necklaces, so I did that, and sold those for more profit. I then free myself from the trance of greed in order to reach level 37 prayer and heroically save Gielinor from the beast that had been terrorizing all of its inhabitants. I had to wait for all of my buy orders of necklace materials to be filled, so I finally hit level 37 prayer. I decided to put the Ober fight on hold and just focus on completing all of the free-to-play quests. I slayed a demon, freed a roaming spirit, turned a chicken into a man, slayed a vampire, caught some imps, rescued a prince, destroyed a weapon of mass destruction, drank a strange liquid, found buried treasure, solved a murder mystery, ousted a traitor, found some more buried treasure, found an artifact, and then forged an artifact, which led me to the final quest, Dragon Slayer. I put on my strongest armor, equipped my strongest weapon, and withdrew all of the food I had in my bank. I then sailed to the island, ran past the hostile creatures that surrounded me, and entered the arena, and died. I spoke to Death about how to get my items back, and then went straight to the Grand Exchange to buy food and an adamant sword, as Elvarg is weak to stab attacks, which, at the time, I didn't realize the scimitar could deal. I then struggled to find my way back to the island from the port, but eventually made it there. I used the shortcut I opened on my first run through the area to get back to the arena, and died again. At this point, I realized I needed to be prepared before I went into the arena if I was to stand a chance versus Elvarg. This time, when I reached the Grand Exchange, I bought a rune full helm, rune plate legs, a rune chain body, an anti-dragon shield, and 20 more lobster. I then made my way back to the arena and fought Elvarg one last time. She put up a great fight, but with the power of rune armor and 40 lobsters, she stood no chance. I had finally slain the dragon. After banking my items, I went to Ashiok to claim my completion for the quest, and that meant that I had completed all of the free-to-play quests. But that's not where this adventure ends. I set out to conquer free-to-play, and I had yet to do that. Introducing the Old School Bond. Membership unlocks a large amount of content in Old School RuneScape. Usually one would have to pay $11 or around €10 per month for membership. This is where the Old School Bond comes in. This item gives 14 days of membership, but at a hefty price. One can purchase it on the RuneScape website for $7 or around €6, and either gift it to someone, trade it to a player for an item or items, or they could sell it on the GE for gold, which is the one that is important to us. But it isn't going to be easy. In order for me to be able to afford a bond, I would need around 4.5 million GP. I would need to spend around 50 hours grinding GP with whatever methods I could, and that is exactly what I did. To help me see which items I should make in order to earn the most GP per hour, I made a spreadsheet that tells me around how much GP per hour I'll make based on the current price of the ingredients and the product. Early on at the Grand Exchange, while I was selling necklaces and buying more materials, I got incredibly lucky. Someone at the GE asked if anyone was looking for GP. I responded, and before I knew it, I had 500,000 more GP. Receiving this GP saved me around 5 hours of grinding, so thank you, Martian Man. The rest of the money making was uneventful to say the least. I would go make necklaces, and then sell them. Sometimes I would mix up the routine and make iron bars for significantly less GP. And if I ever had trouble selling necklaces, I would go chop down oak trees in Draenor for GP as I wait for them to sell. Once I got to 4 million GP, I decided to put up a buy offer for a bond, in case it somehow gets filled, and then went back to cutting oak trees down. And then it happened. My buy order was filled. I had finally completed the mission that I set out to complete. I had conquered free-to-play. Now, I could explore the expansive lands that membership provided.